What is going on, trainers? DrumVillain here, bringing you some more Pokemon Go PvP content, and today we're talking about Registeel with Zap Cannon in the Ultra League. Registeel recently got access to Zap Cannon a few weeks ago when it was last in raids, and it is insane for Registeel. Zap Cannon recently got a buff to its stats, but there still weren't really any Pokemon that would make use of it. They all had better movesets and more ideal movesets, but because of the energy generation that Registeel has with Lock-On, Zap Cannon is absolutely fantastic on it. It makes it the best pick overall for Ultra League. It is absolutely immense, and having Elite TM'd a Registeel to Zap Cannon and having a mess around with it, it is absolutely crazy what this thing can do. Consider that Defense Deoxys is about to become a lot more popular in the Open Ultra League because it's been in raids for the last week or so. With all its different forms, people can grind XL candies, they can get a better Defense Deoxys ready to use, and normally Defense Deoxys is a fantastic answer to Registeel. That counter damage adds up over time, it chips you down, but I tell you what, in the Ultra League, I can swap a Registeel into a Defense Deoxys and you can take a shield and still take switch advantage. That is absolutely nuts. That shouldn't be possible. Registeel should not be able to do that, but it can because Zap Cannon is so broken right now. If you don't believe me, I'll be showing you guys some matchups later on in which Registeel destroys Deoxys. Now, the team I've put together around it is a very try-hard team. It's a very strong team. It's ideal for climbing. It's ideal for getting those wins and building you up. In Go Battle League, that's what you're looking to do and wanting to use Zap Cannon Registeel to get there. But before we get to that, Zap Cannon or Focus Blast the subscribe button. I don't know which sounds worse for your device, but pick one, go for it, and let me know down below which one is less damaging to your phone or computer. And let's take a look at the team. Okay, so we're going to be putting Registeel in the back, and that's because although Registeel is very good in every single role in the Ultra League, it's strongest as a closer, and it also makes a very good safe swap. So we're sometimes using it as a safe swap against certain leads, and in a lot of the cases we're leaving it in the back for the end game where it can sweep up teams. We are running Focus Blast instead of Flash Cannon, which felt a little counterintuitive to me, but it's what PvPoke said was the best moveset, so I decided that's what I'll go with and let it prove me wrong, and I'll tell you what, it did prove me wrong. Focus Blast and Zap Cannon is an immense combination. Pairing up with Registeel, we're going to be using Trevenant. Now, Trevenant and Registeel have almost perfect synergy for the Ultra League. They cover all each other's weaknesses incredibly well. They're both very, very strong. I believe the only joint weakness they have is Scrafty, and Registeel can one-shot that or will do a lot of damage to it with a Focus Blast, and Trevenant can still put some work in with the Seed Bombs over time as well. In the lead, we're going for the absolute classic Talonflame, still one of the best, if not the single best lead for the Open Ultra League in my opinion. It is immensely strong, access to that Brave Bird, so you can throw that and dip out of questionable matchups on the lead. Registeel and Trevenant both make amazing safe swaps, and more often than not, Trevenant will be the safe swap. When a lot of situations we're going to use Registeel, and you'll see how much work it can put in there as well. Not to mention, you'd be surprised how many of the Scrafties in Ultra League are actually on the lead, which is where you want to catch them with Talonflame. And also when you safe swap a Trevenant or a Registeel, you're almost guaranteed to pull a Scrafty out of the back if there is one there, so you should be able to then deal with it using whatever safe swap you've used in Talonflame, and then be able to mop up with the other one in the back. Now, I did have a mess around with a few different team combinations. I did at one point use Walrein, Shadow Walrein specifically, instead of Trevenant on this team, as well as the safe swap. And in another combination, I did use Cresselia, Shadow Walrein, and Registeel. But honestly, I think that Trevenant and Talonflame are your best pairings with Registeel right now, especially because with the Defense Deoxys increasing in number, you do want that Trevenant to do very, very well and hard punish them if they do come in against your Talonflame. Alright, enough dancing around. You guys want to see some serious gameplay using this thing right? Hit the like button if you're enjoying the content so far, and let's take a look at some matchups. Now, these first couple of matchups I'm going to show are using Walrein rather than Trevenant in the safe swap position, and it's just to show some interesting matchups here. We get a Registeel against Giratina in this particular game, which I think is interesting to see because one of the big pickups of Zap Cannon Registeel is that it now beats Shadow Claw Giratina, which is absolutely crazy to consider that Registeel getting a resisted move would let it beat Giratina Altered, the big bad Steel Slayer of the Ultra League. So we've got a pretty good lead, got a pretty good counter swap to this Swampert that comes in as well, so we are already in a pretty strong position, but that's not what we're really here to see, so I might speed this up along a little bit. So we're going to take switch advantage against the Swampert, the Excavalier is going to come in and farm us down, and then as we bring in the Talonflame, they're going to swap in Giratina and we're going to bring Registeel in right away. And they do get pretty much 2 Shadow Claws worth of energy advantage, which can make a reasonable difference in this matchup, and this is a good matchup for Registeel over the long haul, because the Zap Cannon debuffs add up, they slow down that Shadow Claw damage, they slow down the Shadow Sneak damage, and just really help you start take over in terms of pacing. Now, if Giratina does commit a shield and you don't, Giratina will win. It is still close enough where Giratina can flip by shielding a Zap Cannon, and you can flip back. If you match shields, Registeel still wins, but you want to commit that shield earlier because the Shadow Sneaks are going to be doing more damage at that point. So really you have to commit that shield earlier on than they do, which isn't really ideal. So I would say that it's not worth shielding up that matchup, because honestly the Shadow Sneaks are doing like, what, 10% of Registeel's health at the most, and that's just not worth the shield no matter what really. You might as well take a shield advantage and soft lose that matchup and take out Giratina in other means, because as you can see here, even though we've now got Talonflame against this Giratina, it's low enough where Talonflame can just put work in, can start adding up. They're going to have to shield this Flame Charge or get taken out, and these Incinerates are going to get them really, really low, maybe even into lock-on down range at this point. So we're going to shield up this Dragon Claw, probably get at least 1 more Incinerate through, hopefully 2, and get to 1 more Flame Charge, and this is really going to seal this Giratina's fate. There's no way they can handle what health we got left on Registeel at this point. So this is going to be a GG. They are going to push us a little close, but this Shadow Sneak's not going to be enough. And then a Focus Blast is actually unnecessary. We could lock on down, but why risk it? Get the move off, take them out, and take the win. Now, it is realistically 4 Zap Cannons to knock out a Giratina. Maybe 3 with a bit of chip damage. If you land 3 and then they shield 1, you can probably lock on farm them down at that point. They will be very, very low. Now, let's take a look at this next matchup. Now, a Greedent lead is pretty decent for Talonflame. It's fairly neutral. Greedent is very, very strong in the Open Ultra League thanks to that crunch and body slam versatility, but it does go in Talonflame's favour in the Zero Shield. You just can land 2 Flame Charges and then farm them down pretty much, unless they get like a crunch debuff, but really they're unlikely to be throwing crunches because body slam is slightly more energy efficient in that matchup. So really you can let the body slams go. If they shield this Flame Charge, you can consider committing a shield yourself to really take it out. So they do commit a shield, and at this point it's probably worth shielding up 1 more body slam. Maybe it's not. We actually get a lag spike there. They get a bunch of bullet siege through, we get a bunch of Incinerates through. We let the body slam go, it's not going to quite be enough, and we're going to decide, we're going to make them choose. They can either give up 2 shields or they can give up switch advantage. We do take switch advantage, that's absolutely fine for us. They've got a Shadow Granbull in the back. The Angry Bulldog is here, but Registeel can absolutely, well, it can't wall it because Shadow Granbull does have access to close combat, which we will have to respect, but the Zap Cannon would absolutely annihilate Shadow Granbull as well, and we are going to outpace it to those moves. So we're going to shield up that because we have to respect the close combat. Even debuffed, it would do monstrous damage. And then here's the Scrafty, and we make an absolutely massive mistake in swapping into Shadow Walrein. They were shields down, and Scrafty takes a while to ramp up its damage. We should have stayed in with Registeel and gone to a Focus Blast and Focus Blasted the hell out of this Scrafty, and then considered swapping in to Walrein, maybe just to get some chip damage off to finish them off if the Focus Blast wasn't quite enough to knock them out. But instead, they're going to survive these 2 Icicle Spears. We're still going to have to throw a Focus Blast on Registeel to take it out. This Scrafty's damage is now double buffed up. It's going to be starting to really add up. We've got to shield the Power Up Punch because that would do a huge chunk all on its own at this point. And now we've just got to hope that we can outpace the Granbull to a charge move. Can we get to a Zap Cannon to KO before they get to even a crunch at this point would take us out. It's going to be pretty close, but we get the Zap Cannon off. Is it going to be enough to knock out the Granbull? Do we need a Flash Cannon? We don't. Zap Cannon, boom! We take the win. GG. Now, don't forget, Scrafty is only a good counter to Registeel while it has shields to block out those Focus Blasts. Otherwise, you are going to do absolutely monstrous damage to it with those charge moves. So we did nearly throw that game away by bringing in Walrein and giving them a serious chance to ramp up damage, but we still managed to bring it back around because of Registeel. Now, before we move on to the battles with Trevenant with the full team lineup, just wanted to show you guys this little clip that was from a game where the opponent was lagging. They didn't get off a single move through the entire game, but I just wanted to show how hard a Zap Cannon does hit a Lapras. In case you're curious, it does actually hit exactly for the same amount of damage as a Focus Blast does, because they are both 150 base damage. Neither of them are stab, but yeah, that's how hard a Zap Cannon hits a Lapras, just if you're curious. Alright, we're now looking at the battles with the main team. That's going to be Talonflame, Trevenant and Registeel, and we make a pretty serious mistake in this game, but it still pays off, and you're going to see what I mean in a moment. So we've got a Scrafty on the lead against our Talonflame. That's pretty standard, it's where we want to see it, because Scrafty does pretty well against both against Trevenant and Registeel. So we're going to throw a Flame Charge, see if they want to shield. If they shield this, we might consider shielding another foul play if they do throw at this point, but they swap out into defense Deoxys, and we bring in Registeel. We mistap. We should have brought in Trevenant. Trevenant shuts down defense form Deoxys very effectively, and we would think that Deoxys against Registeel is a pretty bad situation for us to be in, but most Deoxys in Ultra League are running Rock Slide and Psycho Boost, so they aren't running Thunderbolt, so all the charge moves are resisted, and you're going to see that we've already dramatically overtaken them in terms of damage with that Zap Cannon. Now their counters are still slowly wearing us down, but realistically no faster than our lock-ons are wearing them down, because Deoxys is all defense. It doesn't have that much HP. 2 Zap Cannons takes it out. Registeel's still pretty healthy, and that's absolutely ballistic that in the Zero Shield, Registeel destroys Deoxys. If they had Thunderbolt, it would be a lot closer, and you might have to consider shielding a Thunderbolt early on to really push that matchup in your favour. Now, another reason why that was a very serious mistake as well is because Scrafty can farm down Registeel and get energy to throw at Talonflame, whereas Trevenant, Scrafty can't farm down with counter, it's double resisted, so they're really going to struggle. You have to throw foul plays, you have to dump energy into you to finish you off, and then Talonflame isn't in a disadvantageous position. But in this particular game, it pays off, because they have Galarian, Stunfisk in the back, and that would do pretty well against Registeel. You can threaten big damage with the Focus Blast, but really, it is a favourable matchup for Galarian Stunfisk, so spending Registeel against the Deoxys actually made perfect sense. If we actually knew what team they were running, it would have been the perfect play, because Trevenant does very well against Galarian Stunfisk as well. It can just take those Rock Slides all day. They're not that strong. They do add up eventually, but you can put a lot more pressure on with the Shadow Claws, with the Shadow Balls, even the Seed Bombs if they're pretty low. And at this point we opt that double Seed Bombs probably going to be enough to take them out. I don't think a Shadow Ball would quite be enough, because Galarian Stunfisk really is that bulky. They lag a little bit, and let us get to a Shadow Ball instead. That'll definitely do the job, and we're going to just take that win. GG. As I say with Deoxys, if they do have Thunderbolt, you will still win in the Zero Shield, but it gives them a lot more potential to shield up a Zap Cannon later on in that fight, and then potentially flip the game back in their favour and take you out. But you're still probably going to come out of that matchup with shield advantage, which is still very, very nice. Alright, are you guys ready to see Registeel absolutely tear an opponent to shreds? Here we go. So Defense Deoxys on the lead, and we're actually going to save swap Registeel, because we don't want to worry about shielding up those Rock Slides. We're going to bring in Registeel. We know this is a positive matchup for us, and if they do swap out, we might be able to line up Trevenant with it later. They let a Zap Cannon go through. Their attack's now debuffed. We're not going to shield up whatever they throw here. We don't mind even if it happens to be a Thunderbolt, but it's just a Psycho Boost, does almost nothing, and they're going to bring in a Greedent. And Greedent, with such a big health advantage, normally does pretty well against almost everything in the Ultra League. But we're actually going to go for Zap Cannon rather than Focus Blast, because we expect them to shield this no matter what, because why wouldn't they? It could be a Focus Blast, do big damage, and that's going to debuff them. And you know what we're going to do? We're going to stay here, we're going to let this Crunch go, and we're not going to Focus Blast them. No. We're going to Zap Cannon them again, because this is going to really debuff this Crunch damage from the opponent and get it to a point where we can survive 2 more Crunches. We're in the red, and we're going to be able to take 2 Crunches, survive, and get to a Focus Blast. So that Crunch does almost nothing. We don't get the defense drop, which is kind of clutch. You know, they've thrown about 3 Crunches, 4 Crunches at us now, and they still haven't, I don't think, got a defense drop, and we just make it to a Focus Blast. That's absolutely crazy. That's going to take them out. Boom, out they go. Defense Deoxys comes and takes us out, but look at that. Registeel's taken a shield advantage, took half of Deoxys, took out a Greedent, absolutely bananas. The opponent does not want to deal with that and they surrender. GG. Now, losses do happen with this team. It's not like it's infallible. There are just team compositions that you're going to have a very bad time against, and in this game that's one of those examples. So we got Shadow Nidoqueen on the lead, which in general is very, very hard to deal with, and we make the mistake of safe swapping Trevenant. Why would you safe swap Trevenant? We should safe swap Registeel because it will probably scare the Nidoqueen off anyway, even though we don't have Flash Cannon. Both the Focus Blast and Zap Cannon are resisted. Registeel can do okay in the matchup overall, just because Nidoqueen does struggle to hit hard enough to take Registeel out effectively, and those poison jabs are double resisted. But really, you don't want to safe swap Trevenant, that's basically a hard counter to Nidoqueen at all, because then they swap in an Umbreon, which they would obviously have a hard counter to Trevenant in the back. Now, actually in this matchup, we are in a bit of a tough position anyway, because it turns out that not only do they have Umbreon in the back, they also have a Scrafty, which would have been coming in to hard punish Registeel. We almost certainly would have lost switch advantage, which means we would have probably ended up keeping our Trevenant against this Umbreon in the end anyway. But we would have had a better shot against a majority of team compositions that might have been in the back if we had have safe swapped Registeel, because Trevenant's the hard counter. And like I said, Registeel, even with Zap Cannon and Focus Blast, can do pretty well against Nidoqueen. It does win in the one shield, which is kind of crazy to consider that you haven't even got a move that hits for neutral apart from the lock-ons. But hey, that's just how crazy Zap Cannon Registeel is, to be honest. We might have been able to get a shield in this matchup against the Scrafty if it did swap in and punish Registeel in the first matchup, so yeah, we would have just been in a better position. But not a lot we could have done in that game all the same. GG to the opponent, they had our number with that lineup there for sure. Okay, next matchup, Poliwrath lead. This is, I think it's a pretty decent lead to see, just because you want to keep the Poliwrath away from Registeel. I'm not really familiar how the Poliwrath Registeel matchup goes when you have Zap Cannon, because that must hit like a bloody truck. A super effective Zap Cannon on Poliwrath, but also those dynamic punches are going to be coming through fast and threatening you pretty hard. So we're going to stay in with Talonflame. We're going to bait with Flame Charge because a Brave Bird would absolutely one-shot Poliwrath, so we expected to get a shield all the same, and they've revealed that they just have Ice Punch, which means that they're going to struggle to take out Talonflame, especially now at this point. So we're going to just keep going for Flame Charge. We've already got a shield. We don't have to shield this. It won't take us out. They'll still struggle to farm us down with Mudshot. And at this point, the Flame Charge is going to really get this Poliwrath low, if not take it out. We'll see what they choose to do. Are they going to shield this up? They don't. Are we going to be able to farm them down? No, they're just going to get to one more Ice Punch, take out the Talonflame, but we've got shield advantage. That's absolutely fine. We're going to lock on down with Registeel and see what they've got in the back. They won't have another counter to Registeel, right? In the back, maybe, surely. Wrong. They've got a Swampert. So what can Registeel do against a Swampert with an energy lead? We are going to go for Zap Cannon, because realistically, a Focus Blast does not one-shot Swampert. It hits for about 50-60% of the health, so you have to land 2 charge moves anyway, so we figure we might as well debuff them once and then go for Focus Blast. They might not be expecting this, lull them into a false sense of security. Are they going to let it through? Bang! Doesn't quite take them out, but gets them very low. We tried to snipe with Trevenant, but they're pretty quick. They get out of there and bring in Registeel, which is not a good answer to Trevenant. Trevenant can do pretty well in this matchup. If the Registeel does have Zap Cannon, they can start nerfing our damage, but they really did need to shield that first Shadow Ball to flip the matchup in their favour. It's just a Flash Cannon, which a second one will take us out, but that's not too big of a deal at this point, because we're going to get a shield out of this Registeel here, and we should make it to one more Shadow Ball before they get to 2 more Flash Cannons. This one will get our shield. They shouldn't make it to another before we can take them out, and the Swampert is pretty much done for. They actually catch a Shadow Ball on the Swampert. Absolutely amazing counting by the opponent, but is it going to be enough to flip this matchup back in their favour? Their Registeel is getting pretty low. We're just going to swap into our Registeel, force them to throw some energy, because even a Focus Blast won't take us out. They have to land 2, and we should be able to make it to a move, and if not, we'd have been able to finish them off with Trevenant all the same and take that win. GG, great catch by that opponent, catching the Shadow Ball on a Swampert with basically no HP, perfectly timed, GG's. Alright, this next matchup is something very important to consider because one thing that can do a lot of damage to your backline is an opposing Talonflame as well. And we need to take a moment and consider that this opponent's Talonflame has 2493 CP, we have 2496. 2493 means that that is a level 50, 100% IV Talonflame, whereas ours is a 13, 15, 15, so we've got slightly more bulk and HP, but they're going to win the CMP ties. And if this Talonflame gets past our Talonflame, it is going to run absolutely rampant on our backline. So we cannot lose this matchup and they sneak and incinerate through. So we're doomed at this point. So what we need to do is catch the Brave Bird on Registeel. It's the only play. We try and throw a Brave Bird, but we know we're going to lose CMP tie. We know we can't win that matchup, so we should have caught the Brave Bird on Registeel. It was the only hope. It's very easy to catch moves from Talonflame because of how slow Incinerate is. It would have given us... Registeel would have taken a lot of punishment getting to a Zap Cannon probably to finish off this Talonflame after taking that Brave Bird, but I do think it would have been worth it because look at the state of the team now. Our Talonflame's gone, we're down shields, all we have is Trevenant. Can Trevenant sweep an entire team? I mean, Trevenant's good, for sure, but unless they've got a Swampert back there as well, we're not going to be able to take the win in this game. The opponent swaps out into a Serperior. We're going to have to land 2 Shadow Balls here to take this out. We'd have to land 1 on the Giratina Origin still, and even then I don't think we'd quite take the win. So we're definitely going to lose this game very, very hard, and the only chance we had once the opponent got ahead in that matchup, in the Talonflame matchup, because we couldn't sneak extra Incinerates through, was to catch the Brave Bird on Registeel, and that's what you're going to have to try and do in that situation. If you run a Hundo, then you're just going to be praying to the RNG gods for your CMP tie on who's going to actually get to throw the move first, but I think it's worth trying to catch the Brave Bird for sure when it was obviously going to be a Brave Bird. Alright, so in this matchup we've got an opponent with the Defense Deoxys lead again, and we say swap our Registeel, and this opponent is quite clever. They swap out with all their energy. They don't throw a single move at our Registeel. They absorb our energy, they absorb the Zap Cannon, and then they swap out with maybe a Rock Slide and a half's worth of energy, which is super threatening to our Talonflame if they manage to get those lined back up against each other later on. Now they bring in their own Registeel, their own Zap Cannon Registeel, and start debuffing us. We're just going to be going straight for Focus Blast. We want to be doing reasonable chunks of damage. We know we're not in a position really to take switch advantage. We try to catch this move on Trevenant, which would have been very, very nice if we would have been able to, but we're not quite able to get it. It is CMP tie. So we swap into Talonflame, hoping to get ahead on energy a little bit. We're going to take this Rock Slide. It does big double super effective damage, but because Deoxys isn't attack weighted, we're not that threatened. We're just going to let it go through. Straight for the Brave Bird. We get a shield out of them, which is, I guess, okay. I mean, at least they didn't farm us down with counter afterwards. That could have been much, much worse. But now we're going to farm down this Deoxys with Trevenant. We're going to come out of here with all the energy, a shield advantage, and hope that Trevenant can just absolutely run away with the back line in this game. Deoxys is going for double Psycho Boost. This is going to really start chipping us down, but we're not going to commit that shield. We're going to hang on to it. The opponent brings in Registeel. We did have time to build up a lot more energy here, but we kind of panicked. We forgot that they'd just thrown a Focus Blast, and that we definitely had time to maybe do at least 4 more Shadow Claws before we threw. We could have had basically double Shadow Ball loaded at this point, but they bring in Cresselia, and we're already in an amazing position here because we can shield up whatever move this is. Get to a Seed Bomb might be enough. Yeah, we don't want to risk them getting to another Grass Knot and just taking us out. We're going to go for the Seed Bomb, and then maybe we can just lock on down anyway if it didn't take them out. But it does. Deoxys comes in, we Shadow Claw down, we take the win. Trevenant sweep! Alright, if you guys want to see how this team handles something a little bit spicier, this opponent's going to be bringing that spice for us. They're bringing Dragalge on the lead, which is absolutely awful for Talonflame. Dragalge really shuts down Talonflame hard. We say swap Trevenant because Trevenant is technically the stronger safe swap out of it and Registeel, and we figure that Registeel will be resisting the Dragon Tails in endgame if we do line them up again further down the line. And the opponent just swapped straight into a Ferrothorn. They must have just been wanting to make sure it stayed away from the Talonflame, which is unfortunate for them because this, like, Ferrothorn does not do well against Trevenant. Unless it has Flash Cannon, it can put in a bit of work then and threaten some big damage. So we very comfortably take switch advantage. I'm going to build up for a Shadow Ball. This will do a big chunk if they do let this through. And now we can line Registeel up with this Dragalge. They are going to farm us down entirely, which gives them a monstrous amount of energy. But the big nuke that Dragalge runs is Outrage, which we're resisting. And Registeel has, you know, it's got massive bulk. So that's an Outrage. It's not even debuffed yet and it doesn't actually do that much damage. So that's not all that threatening. We're just going to take this move as well. It's probably mid Aquatail at this point. The opponent is better throwing Aquatails rather than Outrage, as we figure we'll use one of our shields there just to make sure Registeel's a little bit healthier. And now that we've debuffed them once, we're going to let this energy go through very comfortably. We don't mind. Look at that. Barely tickles. We've taken an Outrage, an Aquatail, a bunch of Dragon Tails, and we're only just in the yellow. So we're going to farm down completely. We don't care at this point. Throw your energy. Get us low. We want Zap Cannons to debuff whatever you've got left in the back. It's a Blastoise. Maybe we should have thrown the energy sooner and kept Registeel a little bit healthier. We're definitely going to get a shield with this. And we're going to swap straight out into Talonflame. And there's an argument to be made to stay in with Registeel and try and get to another move. But if they did manage to farm us down with Water Gun, we would have been in a very bad position. Now, we do actually throw a Brave Bird rather than a Flame Charge first, which is unfortunate because if we would have thrown a Flame Charge first and then a Brave Bird, we would have done more damage and probably taken them out. No, we wouldn't, because we didn't even get to a Flame Charge as well. But Registeel is clutch. We make it to a Focus Blast. We're going to be able to take them out. And are we going to be able to finish off that Dragalge? It's got 1 HP. We lock on down. We take the win. GG. Okay, you guys want to see a Talonflame get Zap Cannon, right? You want to see how much damage that's going to do. Right, we got a Giratina on the lead. Absolutely awful lead for Talonflame. We're going to throw a Brave Bird and dip into Registeel because, as we've said, Registeel can hold its own against Giratina pretty well with that Zap Cannon. Bring it in, see what the opponent chooses to do. They punish us with a Talonflame. Are they expecting it? They think that we've got Zap Cannon. We're going to throw it. Are they going to shield? You know they're not. Bang! Absolutely annihilated. And you know what's crazy now? We can shield up Registeel. We don't shield the first Flame Charge because it'll do less damage than the second one. But we can lock on farm down. We don't need to throw another move. They are at 2 Flame Charges. This one would take us out, so we are going to shield. We're going to give up a shield to get switch advantage. Keep our Talonflame away from the Giratina. And see what the opponent chooses to do. They're going to come in and throw energy straight away. It's not going to be enough to take us out, even if it is Shadow Sneak. It does about half of what they need to do at this point. I'm going to throw a Zap Cannon. We're going to debuff this Giratina. See what they choose to do, and Registeel has absolutely turned this game around for us and given us that advantage. We would have made it to a Focus Blast and been able to finish them off, but they commit to throwing energy. They realise that they can't farm us down entirely. We actually bring in Talonflame because we know at that point the Giratina is low enough to farm down, and then we have the option of Brave Birding and dipping out of this matchup. But because it's a Walrein in the back, we're actually going to stay in, just start throwing some Flame Charges, and hopefully get this thing down into Seed Bomb range, because Trevenant does lose to Walrein pretty badly. Unfortunately, they get to a second Icicle Spear here, so we are going to have to commit the shield here. So we've got to throw this, hope it gets the shield, which I think it should at this point because this Flame Charge would do big damage. And now we've got to just race to the Seed Bomb. Hope it's enough, but the switch clock's up. They swapped in this Walrein quite a while ago from this Giratina. They know their counts, they try to catch. We commit to farming down the Giratina. We know that they're going to be catching. We throw the Seed Bomb, we're going to take the win, and it's going to be a very close win for us there against an awful lead and a punishing counter swap. GG. Alright guys, I could talk about this team all day, but I've been going for half an hour already, and I'm sure you're already sick of hearing my voice for today. So I'm going to leave you with the biggest mistake I made with this line. This was absolutely horrendous misjudgment by me, and I get absolutely smashed to pieces by it. So let me know what you guys think of the team down below. If you've got any questions, ask me as well. I'll try and get back to you and let you know. If you enjoyed the content, do not forget to hyper beam the like button. Oh man, that still hurts my soul a little bit to see. If you're a subscriber to the channel, you're an absolute legend, and I'll catch all you guys next time.